Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lanore.
Welcome back to Superhuman Radio. This is a really important show today. You know, I've complained about the medical orthodoxy on this show so many times that everybody pretty much knows how I feel about it. And I've also complained about the fact that most doctors do not put any value in nutrition, its ability to manifest disease, and the reverse of that, which is its ability to actually cure disease. It was Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, who first said, "Let food be thy medicine." And truer words were never spoken. But today's doctors, they don't pay any attention to nutrition. In fact, I think they take maybe a very, very brief semester in medical school that addresses nutrition, and it really doesn't address anything. I mean, it just goes over what the USDA and what the government recommends in the way of nutrition, which is nothing. I mean, nothing at all, and all wrong on top of that. Well, my guest today is actually a relative of mine. His name is John Finnegan. He's my brother-in-law, married to my sister Valerie. And the reason he's on the show today is because he has a very, very profound story to share with everyone, especially those of you who may be fighting cancer right now. How you doing, John?
Hey, very good call.
Okay, let's start at the very beginning. How many months ago did your stomach bother you when you went to the doctors?
It was actually January 19th of 2009.
That's a date you'll never forget, I bet, huh?
Yes.
Okay. And you went to the doctors, and you went there why? Because your stomach was bloated or what?
Actually, I was getting a sharp pain on my left side of my stomach, and I was going through burping a lot.
Okay.
Every time after I ate.
Okay. So you go to the doctors, and what do?
The first thing they did, they took a endoscope.
Okay. And when they went into your stomach, what did they see?
The first time they saw a large mass surrounded with an ulcer.
Okay. And did they tell you what that mass was? Did they do a biopsy at that time?
They did a biopsy. They did 8 biopsies the first time.
And what did they say?
They said they couldn't find anything the first time. And he said he wanted to go with me to take another test, and this time he was going to take 22 more biopsies.
Okay, now, but they did find, but there was a mass. What they were trying to determine at that point in time of whether or not.
But it was not cancer.
Right, exactly. Okay, so they went back in the second time, and they took 22 more biopsies. And what did they find the second time?
The second time they found, this is what the biopsy read, diffuse large B-cell lymphoma.
So cancer.
Cancer, yes.
Okay. Now, at that point in time, I happen to know, you and I talked. I happened to be in Phoenix for a little while at that time as well. And you were really freaked out, right? I mean, now you've got cancer. You're thinking, my God, this is serious.
Well, it was also the way it was presented to me. If I could maybe...
Yeah, please elaborate.
Yes. Like I said, the first test came back negative, and when I was going through it, he said, well, we're going to take another test. We're going to take 22 more biopsies. And the red flag came out in my brain. I said, 22 more biopsies. I mean, what's going on? And the first test came back negative, So I took the 22 more biopsies, and I was in his office, and I was talking to him, and he said, well, everything is good. You don't have any cancer. Take Prepacet for 2 more weeks and come back and see me. I said, that's great. With that, a nurse walks in, hands him a piece of paper. He turns around and says to me, well, everything just changed.
That fast.
So I go,
who the hell was that nurse?
So he goes, you have lymphoma. So I looked at him, and I looked at the watch, and I looked at the clock, and he got the biopsy report at 10:30. Now, this is at 2:30, 2:45, and I was ready to walk out of the office. He never read the biopsy report.
Oh, my gosh.
He was going to send me home off the first biopsy report. And he started to backpedal a little bit, and he said to the nurse, well, when did we get this? And the nurse looked at him, kind of flushed-looking, and said, well, we got this around 10:30. And this was at 2:30, 2:45.
Yeah.
And within 5 minutes, he had me spun around outside talking to another nurse to go see an oncologist. That quick.
Yeah. And this is why, my listeners, this is why I tell you, doctors are not born with any kind of special talents. They are average people. They could have become mechanics or butchers, and they could make mistakes just like everybody else. And this is a perfect example of why you must always challenge your doctor, because you may have a doctor make diagnosis and he doesn't have the right information in front of him. This example exactly. He was ready to send you home, but 2 seconds later, it's like, oh, you've got cancer.
Exactly.
So he wasn't on top of his job, basically.
No, he wasn't.
Okay. All right. I mean, if that guy was a mechanic, you'd probably never use him again, right?
No.
Okay. All right. So now you got cancer. So what's going through your mind?
Well, I guess just like everybody else, it was like, why me? And, all the sitting on a pity party and saying, what did I do wrong? And, I thought I was doing everything right in life. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I was eating the right food. I thought I was eating the right food, actually, which I wasn't.
Right.
And then I spoke to you.
Right.
And you told me about ginger extract.
Right. Okay.
You said it was good for inflammation. It was good for ulcers.
But more importantly, ginger extract. We had a great opportunity here. Before we get into the whys, I discussed ginger extract with you. When I first spoke to you and said, John, I want you to order some ginger extract from my supplier, you didn't do it immediately, right?
No.
What went through your mind at that point in time when I told you this, truthfully?
Well, I guess I didn't want to say it like everybody else, because that's not a fair assumption. I just thought, well, you got cancer, and that's it, you got it. And you just got to follow the medical procedure, just take baby steps 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and take it as it comes, which I think a lot of people do.
Right. They go because they believe the doctors know what they're doing. We put implicit trust in physicians, almost, and it's the reason why they feel like God is because we endow them with that. We don't challenge them, we don't question them, and we allow them to say whatever. They take whatever course of action that they want. The truth of the matter is, you put two doctors in the same room, you get three opinions. So obviously, that's not science. Science always has a definitive outcome, like math. That's not science. If two doctors can want to do two different things with you. To end up with the same results. So, but when I told you about ginger, I told you about the research on ginger and its ability to actually shrink tumors, did you believe me? Truthfully.
Well, I have to be honest with you, my eyes were starting to get a little wide open for the first time. And you said to me that, I'm telling you, if you take this within a couple weeks, not only will it shrink the tumor, but the tumor will be gone.
Okay. All right. And so, but at that point in time, I remember you didn't order it right away, right?
No, I didn't, no.
No, you probably waited, a week before you ordered it?
I would say a week to 10 days.
Okay. All right. So the reality is that while let's face it, you were searching for answers, and you and I used to bet the horses, and so you always want to spread your bet. You gotta wheel it sometimes because you don't know for sure who's going to win and who's going to come in second. So you were going to wheel your bet. You were going to say, okay, I'm going to do what the doctor says. I'm going to look for some other alternatives too. I want to make sure that I stack the odds in my favor for capping this thing once and for all and moving on from it. So while you did consider the ginger, it had to be low on the list, right? You had to think to yourself, gee, what the hell is ginger going to do for me, right?
Exactly. Well, first of all, I was being banged around like a ping pong ball. First, I didn't have cancer. No, I do have cancer. So my thought process wasn't really centered on, one possible answer that just could take care of it.
Right.
So I was really, truly apprehensive about everything.
Everything, right. And naturally apprehensive about everything, but really looking hard for the magic bullet because you kind of feel like I got one shot at getting this right. I don't want to screw it up because this is life. This isn't, I'm going to lose $100. This is like, man, I can really be shortening my life dramatically here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an important decision. All right, look, we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to pick up with the story because I can promise everybody that's listening to the story, you're going to hear something remarkable. We're talking with my brother-in-law, John Finnegan, who remembers when I was a snot-nosed little kid. Right, John? All right, stay tuned. You're listening to Superhuman Radio. We'll be right back.